Hamburg Sustainability Conference held in Germany gathered policymakers and business leaders from around the world to advance the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. Top of mind was resolving existential threats such as poverty, hunger, and climate change, and probing how today's sustainability targets set tomorrow's future. CNBC Africa's Godfrey Mutizwa spoke to the UK's Development for Women and Equalities Minister, Anneliese Dodds, and World Bank Group President Ajay Banga on efforts being made towards sustainability in Africa.
Minister, thank you for your time. So I just wanted your thoughts in respect to this conference, different in terms of how it's been structured and also some of the conversations that we are hearing here.
I think this has been such a useful conference. It's been really excellent to be able to have conversations behind closed doors, often with our partners, to really build that strong partnership between equals. And for the new UK government, this is really important, particularly when it comes to our relationship with countries in the Global South. We want to make sure we have those strong partnerships, that we're able to build understanding between us. We have all the same goals to aim at, of course, economic development, combating the climate crisis, fighting against extreme poverty. So this conference has been great.
Can you talk a little bit about some of the sessions that you attended as well? And I'd imagine you were also giving your thoughts in respect to how you see sustainable development.
Well, this conference has come at a really important time because we've just had, of course, the UN General Assembly and the statement that came out of that, which did bring countries together. But now we need to make sure that we're ready, of course, for the World Bank annuals that's coming up, also for COP as well, when it comes to the climate crisis, biodiversity crisis, and then into the conference in Seville next year on financing for development. So this conference in Hamburg has been really important for getting into the detail of these big questions. How do we reform the financial system so that it works better for all of our mutual interests, particularly to promote global economic growth and combat the climate crisis? How can we make sure also that new factors like AI are working for the world's poorest people as well, and not just entrenching inequalities? So it's been really useful from that point of view.
Absolutely. And of course, I would imagine some of your work is going to involve Africa, and we know the story of Africa in terms of sustainable development, of course, eliminating poverty. Just a few thoughts in respect to what you think ought to be done to strengthen that partnership and get the continent on its feet?
Well, for the new UK government, it's really important for us to work closely with our African partners. I was delighted to be able to meet with representatives from the new South African government from a number of different African nations. And we're really keen, as a new Labour government in the UK, to make sure that we do have that strong partnership. We have processes, for example, around a just energy transition in a number of nations, including South Africa. We have those long-term shared goals that we need to be aiming towards. But to get there, you need to have trust, you need to make sure you have effective mechanisms, and you need to make sure that you have enough interaction between governments. And that's what we've been seeking to build. So this conference has been great in order to help us on the way to do that.
An important conversation is taking place here around sustainability, but I was really enthralled when I heard you talk about 5 key things that ought to be addressed for the world to be able to harness the power and money and skills that are within the private sector for the creation of jobs. Let's go through them.
That's true, Godfrey. I think at the end of the day, our world's challenges, the intertwined challenges of poverty and climate and pandemics and all that put together along with debt, make it mean that you cannot rely only on public resources, governments, multilateral banks. We can help, but you have to get the private sector to bring their capital, their ingenuity, their technology, and their people to the space.
Absolutely.
So I was focused on renewable energy.
Yeah.
And now that solar and wind are cheaper per unit than fossil fuel, the question then comes, why is it that large numbers of private sector investors are not lining up to set up generating capacity in all these countries?
Absolutely.
So we set up a lab, a private sector investment lab, run by Mark Carney and Shriti Badera. It has 15 leading CEOs, asset managers, pension funds, operators.
Sure. And what did you find?
What we learned was 5 things. The first one, they want regulatory and policy clarity. After all, if you think the utilities are not going to be liquid to pay you, or you don't know what the regulatory environment in a country will be, then the question becomes, why would I take my money there? So the bank can help. We can work with these governments to help provide regulatory clarity to the private sector.
Sure.
Second, even if they get regulatory clarity, they want political risk insurance, which we can provide through our multilateral insurance guarantee agency, one of the arms of the World Bank, which we are doing already. We have doubled what we did there in the past year. We think we can do even more in the coming years. So that's the second big one.
Sure.
Third is, can we take the first loss of junior equity in a position so we make it attractive enough for the private sector
Right.
to move in?
This
And
is the
again,
World Bank.
This is the World Bank. And again, I'm looking at ways for the World Bank and IFC to take junior equity in this place. And the fourth one is foreign exchange. You see, all these investors are investing in dollars and euros and yen,
Yeah.
but they're getting paid back in local currency over a 30, 40-year period. There's no hedging market
Sure.
for that long. So they end up with an unexposed, completely exposed position, and that's a challenge for them. So we're working on ideas including multi-layer risk facilities and local currency liquidity to help to see them through this problem.
Absolutely.
And then the last one, which to me is the big one, but
Yeah.
has more time to get done,
Yeah.
is, can we create an asset class in this category of projects of energy, water, and the like?
Right.
Where if we make an asset class out of it, get a rating agency to put a stamp, create a group of loans that can be syndicated out and sold,
Sure.
securitized
Right.
effectively,
Yeah.
then we can bring real pension fund money and asset manager money to this category.
Sure.
To do that, many things need to happen. You need to standardize the loans. You need to simplify the covenants. You can't have bespoke loans. So the countries will also have to accept that. And we need a rating agency to create a wrapper
Yeah.
and create the right kind of rating for it. We're
Yeah.
doing work on that as well with a few people
Yeah.
in the industry. So
This is when that has already started.
these are all 5 things our work started.
Sure. So,
Regulatory policy clarity,
Yeah.
the FX issue,
Yeah.
the first loss,
Yeah.
the issue of can we do something with political risk guarantees,
Yeah.
and then of course the asset class.
and at the same time, we're also in a world where we know, particularly coming from the continent, where young people come into the formal job market, there are no jobs. 13 million come into the African market every single year, 3 million find jobs, the rest, they disappear into the nether. You have been tasked as well in trying to find solutions to that. How far have you got?
So I'm very focused on the issue of young people and jobs. Let me give you the statistic another way. 1.2 billion young people will come into the job market around the world, in the emerging markets, over
Sure.
the coming 15 years. 1.2 billion.
Sure.
Currently,
The whole continent of Africa.
Correct. Currently, the emerging markets are only on a forecast to create 450 million jobs. Now, forecasts are not destiny. We can change them, but then
Sure.
we have to work on it. And I think finding young people, which we call a demographic dividend, they are a demographic dividend, yes, if they have education and healthcare and water and clean air when they're growing up. But once they grow up, they must get a job. The dignity and the decency of a job. That's what we are working on. In the case of Africa, my belief is the jobs will come from 5 or 6 areas.
Okay.
First is infrastructure. Roads, bridges, airports, railways, agricultural warehouses, the basic requirements of creating a functioning, growing economy. Growth.
Cool.
Economic growth.
Gotcha.
You will need infrastructure. Second, you will need agriculture to become a business. Today, Africa is food stressed. It doesn't need to be. It has arable land.
Yeah.
It has water. The problem is the water is not in irrigation.
Right.
Only 6% of Africa is irrigated. 37% of Asia is irrigated. So we have to build the right irrigation systems, but we also have to build the right soil testing and the like, so
Yeah.
we can increase the output per hectare
Sure.
by using the right seeds and fertilizer, which today Africa does not do.
Absolutely.
Africa's output per hectare is 1/3 that of Asia.
Sure.
So we can change this.
Yeah.
The third, so infrastructure, agriculture is a business.
Yeah.
The third category is healthcare. Not just because we will improve the health of Africans,
Yeah.
that we must do,
Yeah.
but also because the creation of primary healthcare centers will lead to jobs for nurses, medical technicians,
Absolutely.
PPE manufacturing,
Absolutely.
medicine manufacturing. So the World Bank has made a commitment to reach 1.5 billion people through primary health centers, physical and digital, by 2030.
Sure.
A large number of that has to be in Africa. And a fourth category
Yeah.
to create jobs
Yeah.
is tourism, done the right way, responsible tourism. Today, if you go to the Masai Mara
Yeah.
and on the way back you want to stop in Marrakesh,
Yeah.
you cannot. You have to go to Europe to come back to Marrakesh.
Absolutely.
That is not
I know about
That's
that.
crazy. We can change that.
Yep.
And then to do all this well,
Yeah.
including local manufacturing of value-added materials that Africa is blessed with,
Yeah.
value-added for the energy transition.
Yeah.
I think we need electricity. And you heard me say today, the World Bank has said, along with the African Development Bank and the Rockefeller Foundation,
Yeah.
we will reach 300 million people
Absolutely.
with renewable energy by 2050. Without electricity,
Yeah.
we cannot achieve any of those things to create jobs or healthcare or education. for
100%. Final question is going to be around the upcoming annual meetings of the IMF World Bank in Washington. I just wanted a quick preview in terms of some of the key themes that you are developing there.
Well, in addition to what we've already announced on climate, we said we would reach 45% of our financing for climate by 2025. We will do that. But we also talked about methane and doing things with methane. And we talked about this 300 million, and we've talked about the 1.5 billion for healthcare. So these are all previous announcements. Now we're going to focus a little bit on agriculture and food as a business. And you will hear us make some announcement in that space and some announcement in the space of gender and the empowerment of gender through economic empowerment. And those two are our big focus areas in the coming annual meetings.
Reflections on developing Africa's future ran throughout the Hamburg Sustainability Conference, while UK Minister of Development for Women and Equalities Anneliese Dodds emphasizes political will and says trust and interaction between governments from the global south and north is key to leveraging growth. World Bank President Ajay Banga advocates for the use of private sector resources, encouraging governments to tap into the expertise of business.